Right, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is our City Council work session for today, but I can't call it to order until we take care of one very important thing, and that's swearing in of my second term. Actually, I can't officially do anything tonight until we get that out of the way, and for Council Member First and Council Member Mesa as well. I understand he is not here at the moment. But I want to say this. We made this a very simple thing tonight. Get sworn in and get right straight to the business of the work of the people. And, I suggested, I'm not going to tell you I didn't, I suggested a parade and a military flyover. And we looked at our city budget and said, well, we just can't do that. So I appreciate those who turned out tonight just to see us being sworn in. Afterwards, we'll get right straight to the work of the people, and you can see how the sausage is made if you choose to stick around. If not, we certainly understand that as well. Thank you to the Honorable Judge, State Court Judge Alvin Wong, for coming in this evening to swear Jimmy and I in. And I'll just go ahead and say this, and I think I probably speak for Council Member First, but he can speak on his own. What an honor to be sworn in for another term. We are truly grateful to the citizens of Chamblee for allowing us to hold these seats for the time that we have them, and putting your trust in us to do the right things and make the right decisions and continue to move this city forward. So just because we're not having some big glamorous ceremony, please don't think that we take any of this for granted. We are truly grateful for the opportunity that you have given us. And Councilmember Mesa was to be sworn in tonight as well, and he wanted me to share a little bit. He was witness to an unfortunate incident that happened a little while ago involving a shooting, and is being tied up at the moment to make a statement. So he's not going to be able to be here with us this evening, and he will get sworn in on Tuesday night at our regular council meeting. So that's why he is not here. Again, he just wanted to make sure that everyone knew that he certainly just didn't slight this process and take it for granted. But with that, we will go ahead and get sworn in. Judge Wong, if you'll come up, and I'll go down here. All right. With that, I'll call this meeting to order, and the clerk will call the roll. Yeah, yes, of course. And Madam CEO, if you'll stick around 1 second. I got it. Thank you for making me legal. At the bottom. All right. Perfect. Thank you, sir. Thank you,
If
sir.
everybody direct their view to the sky here, where the fireworks will commence.
Yeah. And now the clerk will call the roll.
Mayor Brian Mock,
Here.
Councilmember Jimmy First,
Here.
Councilmember John Mesa, Councilmember Leslie Robson, Councilmember Paul Stovall,
Here.
Councilmember Elmer Vythe.
Present.
If I could get someone to approve the agenda.
Motion to approve the agenda as submitted.
Any discussion?
Second.
All in favor? Sorry, got out of whack there.
Well,
I'm new to this. I'm new to this.
it's okay.
Any
his
further
first day.
discussion? All in favor? All right. That'll take us down to announcements and presentations. I want to acknowledge this evening that we have a couple of fine dignitaries with us from DeKalb County. To start with, an unexpected visit from our CEO, Lorraine Cochran Johnson. And with the blessing of council, I'd like to give the CEO an opportunity to come up and say a couple of words if you'd like. We don't have you in our house too often, so
I did not come to interfere with the meeting, but I read everything that comes across the email. And when I saw the time of the installation, I had to come and just be present because it is a joy to work alongside each and every one of you. And I just want to say to the citizens of Chamblee that you guys continue to get it right. You have great representation and it shows. So thank you for your leadership. I look forward to serving alongside each and every one of you for the continuation of my term, and let's go make DeKalb great. Thank
you,
y'all.
ma'am. Certainly appreciate you joining us this evening. And we also have with us this evening our District 2 Commissioner, which is a little bit south of here, but maybe not for long. I don't know. We'll see what happens tonight, right? Commissioner Spears, if you'd like to come up and say a word, grateful to have you with us as well.
So much, Mayor and Council. Happy New Year to all of you. Happy New Year to the audience. I am so truly thrilled to be here tonight and to witness both of you getting sworn in, so congratulations. Y'all have been wonderful leaders, and we so very much appreciate your investment into the Chamblee and broader DeKalb County community. On a personal note, Chamblee is a very important city to me. My parents, when they were younger, they eloped from Birmingham, Alabama. They landed in Chamblee, Georgia to get married. Then, when I moved here from Florida, Chamblee was the first city that I lived in, and I had no idea that they were married in the city of Chamblee. So Chamblee means very much to me. I am so truly thrilled with how Chamblee has evolved. I hang out, have dinner, walk in your city all the time, and hats off to all of you. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Happy New Year, everybody.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you again, Madam CEO. Thank you, Commissioner, for taking your time. And again, a big thank you to our state court judge, Alvin Wong. And of course, his wife, Jeannie, who he wouldn't have been here if she hadn't have done all the work behind the scenes, right? So thank you, Jeannie. Thank you, Jeannie, for supporting us. We all know how important it is for our spouses and Destiny and Christian and all of our spouses, we couldn't do this job without the support of those who are supporting us. So thank you to our families for supporting all of us. All right, we'll move on down. We are moving into public hearings, and first up on the agenda, I will read the rules of order for public hearing zoning matters. The hearing shall be presided over by the mayor. After calling the hearing to order, the mayor shall request the parcels of property for which is subject to the zoning proposal be identified and read. Following such identification and reading, the development director's recommendation shall be presented. The mayor and city council shall cause the director's written recommendation to be made part of the record. Proponents of each proposed zoning decision shall then be allowed a total of 10 minutes for presentation of data, evidence, and opinion concerning the zoning decision. If all 10 minutes are not used, the proponent's remaining time may be reserved for rebuttal. Opponents of each proposed zoning decision shall then be allowed a total of 10 minutes for presentation of data, evidence, and opinion concerning each zoning decision. Presentation times may not be reduced, but may be extended by majority vote, provided they are expanded equally for proponents and opponents. Anyone wishing to speak must come to the microphone, give your name and address to the city clerk. Do not speak unless you have the microphone and have been recognized, and with that, I will open up the public hearing. First up on the agenda this evening is 2767 Claremont Road, 3082, 3084, 3110, and 3120 Briarcliff Road, and this is a future land use designation.
Afternoon, Mayor and Council. Matt Adams, Planning and Development Director for the City of Chamblee. So this application is related to the proposed annexation of 5 parcels on the south of the I-85 corridor, just south of the City of Chamblee. As part of that process, a future development amendment is needed to establish the long-range land use framework that would guide future zoning decisions should council approve the annexation. I do want to note that a future development map amendment is a policy-level action. On its own, it does not approve a development plan, a rezoning, or a specific density. It simply sets the planning context for how the area could develop in the future. Staff is recommending that the properties be added to the City of Chamblee's future development map and assigned a mixed-use future land use designation. I apologize, I'm having trouble seeing tonight. While these are 5 separate properties, they function as a single site for annexation and long-term planning purposes. And for the purposes of this application, my comments will apply collectively to all 5 properties, even if I refer to them individually or as a single site. Existing transportation infrastructure and utilities are in place, which are capable of supporting future development, subject to confirmation through the city's standard review process, of course. The amendment would not negatively impact identified historic resources, and any future development would still be required to comply with stream buffer protections where state water is present. Under DeKalb County's 2050 Comprehensive Land Use Plan, the site is currently designated within the neighborhood center character area, and the designation anticipates compact, pedestrian-oriented mixed-use development at moderate densities, serving as a transition between higher intensity activity corridors and surrounding neighborhoods. Staff finds that the Chamblee's mixed-use future land use designation is functionally consistent with that framework, though its focus on a pedestrian-oriented development with a vertical mix of uses may allow a higher density than the neighborhood center character area. There is a small area plan in this area that would allow for a higher density than normal in that area. Because of this, the mixed-use designation would support long-term reinvestment and promote cohesive land use planning following the proposed annexation. And based on that analysis, staff would recommend the approval of the future development map amendment to add the 5 properties and assign them the mixed-use future land use designation.
I forgot to ask if we could take A and B together. Do we need to do those separate?
I believe you have to do them separately since they're separate items.
Okay, thought so. All right, so this is the future land use designation portion of this. Anyone wishing to speak in favor of this item, if you'll come up to the microphone, tell us who you are, how you're related to the project, and why you think it's wonderful.
Good evening. Jason Linscott with Stein Investment Group. We're the owner of a large portion, or a portion of this property being annexed, about 6 acres of it. I don't want to say too much. I'm happy to answer any questions. As you all know, I've done a lot of work with the city of Chamblee over many years. This one is sort of a unique project. I live in this neighborhood and grew up in this neighborhood over here near Oak Grove Elementary and Lakeside High School. So it's sort of a special project for me, and excited to sort of bring it together and work with the city on this project to bring it to fruition for the community.
Anyone else here wishing to speak in favor of this item?
My name is Michelle Long Spears, District 2 Commissioner in DeKalb County. I am in support of this annexation. I hope that y'all will please consider it. It's a solid project. That area that was just described to you is part of District 2, which, if this passes, would make me a commissioner for Chamblee, which would give me a lot of pride. But it's a solid project, and I can tell you that all of the residents around in that area, so immediately around it, and also you can ripple it out, are very much in favor of this project. It has been an eyesore for a long time, and they really would like to see an investment there that they feel like they can claim it as part of their community. And it's something that will breathe a little bit more life into their community with new restaurants, new shops, things like that. So please consider this annexation. Thank you.
Anyone else wishing to speak in favor? Anyone wishing to speak in opposition? All right, with that, we'll move on down. Same item, different topic. This is 2767 Claremont Road, 3082, 3084, 3110, and 3120 Briarcliff.
And again, Mayor and Council, we'll try this again after I've cleaned my glasses so I can actually see what I'm supposed to read. So the intent of this application is to establish the city's zoning framework for the properties that were mentioned in the previous application following their annexation into the city. The request includes several zoning changes. So the property at 2767 Claremont Road would be rezoned from DeKalb County C1 Local Commercial District to Chamblee's MUBC, which is the Mixed Use Business Center District. The properties at 3082, 3084, and 3110 Briarcliff Road would be rezoned from DeKalb County's HR3 High Density Residential District to MUBC. And the property located at 3120 Briarcliff Road would be rezoned from DeKalb County's MR2 Medium Density Residential District to DCA, which is the city's DeKalb County Annexed Zoning District. As I noted in the previous application, while this is 5 separate properties, they function together as a single site for the annexation and for long-term planning purposes. The proposed rezoning would bring those parcels into a unified mixed-use zoning framework that better reflects the site's location along Claremont Road and Briarcliff Road and its relationship to the Century Center area. The MUBC zoning district specifically is intended to support compact, pedestrian-oriented mixed-use development. The DCA zoning designation for 3120 Briarcliff Road, however, would serve a different purpose. It would allow Chamblee to assume the zoning jurisdiction upon annexation while preserving the property's existing development rights. It's important to note that any future redevelopment of that site would require separate zoning or site plan approvals and additional public hearings should council adopt the annexation. And staff evaluated the request against the zoning amendment criteria outlined in the UDO and finds that the proposed zoning is compatible with surrounding land uses. It would not adversely affect adjacent properties. Also found that it supports orderly development along established corridors, and the rezoning would not introduce incompatible land uses, but instead provide a more integrated framework for future developments. Again, I do want to emphasize that the rezoning does not allow for a specific development plan, density, or site layout, as that would require separate action by City Council. And with that, staff would recommend approval of the rezoning as we mentioned earlier, and I'm here for any questions that you have.
We'll open it up. Anyone here to speak in favor of this item?
I think I'm supposed to at least sort of say the same comment since it's a different case. So Jason Linscott with Stein Investment Group. We own the properties here. And again, I guess in related to the zoning, I know there has been a project plan that's public for this property that most folks have seen. And as our commissioner for District 2 mentioned earlier, it's had unanimous community support along the way. So we're hoping to bring the same project through here in Chamblee through, of course, City Council action, as Matt mentioned. So we'll have to bring that back through and make sure everything conforms and meets everyone's needs here too. So any questions, let me know. Thank you.
Else here wishing to speak in favor? Anyone wishing to speak in opposition? All right. We'll move on to the next item, but I will remind everyone that this comes up again shortly in the regular minutes here, and council may or may not have questions at that time. Next up is 3535 Ashton Woods Drive.
Evening again. So this application is before council in a somewhat unusual posture. At the November 18th City Council meeting, a prior application for the same project was partially approved and partially denied. After reviewing the meeting minutes and consulting with council members and the applicant, staff determined that the actions taken did not fully reflect council's intent and would result in additional unintended hardship for the project. To correct the issue, the application has been reprocessed under a new case number and properly re-advertised. As part of tonight's action, staff is recommending that council formally void the prior action taken on November 18th and consider this new application on its merits. The application is requesting 2 variances and 2 waivers. The variances would reduce required on-site open space from 10% to 0% and reduce the required 40-foot buffer to 10 feet. The waivers relate to landscape planting requirements and street tree installation on Ashton Woods Drive. With respect to the 2 variances, staff recommends denial due to topographic conditions on the site not supporting the open space or variance for the buffer. Further, I would note that with the removal of the previously proposed additions, there is no requirement that additional open space be added on this site. So that variance is not needed in order for a project to move forward as proposed in the site plan you see before you now. So as such, staff is recommending denial for the 2 variances. With respect to the waivers, staff recommends approval. This would allow for existing landscaping to remain on the site and would not require any new street trees along Ashton Woods Drive. Staff found this is appropriate given the site's constraints and the abundance of existing vegetation on site. However, staff is recommending conditions to address environmental protection and erosion concerns, which include an invasive species removal plan, engineered restoration of downslope erosion due to some changes that were made to the existing parking lot, and then coordination for future plant rescue of native species. Staff would also recommend formal voiding of the prior council action from November 18th, 2025.
Good. Anyone here wishing to speak in favor of this item? Come on up, tell us who you are.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Pleasure to be back here before you again. My name is Baxter Russell. I'm a zoning and land use attorney with Dillard Sellers, 1776 Peachtree Street. Here tonight on behalf of this applicant, Pruitt Health. As was stated by Director Adams, this is in many ways a mirror application of one you heard in November. Pruitt is here as in a good faith effort to, I think, really capture the intent of council and capture the efforts that Pruitt Health put in to revise our site plan through the process this fall. The client and myself recognize that the will of the council may not have been captured in November such that it matched this site plan that we worked on. So from my perspective, from the last time I presented to you, nothing has changed. Our site plan has not changed. What did change last fall is that we had originally presented a site plan and we provided a new site plan that removed impacts to the buffer area, which I believe was the primary concern. We relocated the parking expansion outside of that buffer area. We added new underground detention under the parking, as well as additional landscaping. So for that reason, tonight, next week as well, and as I did in 2025, we're requesting that you approve variance number 1 related to open space, as well as the 2 waivers. So you've seen the site plan before you. Again, same one presented in November. And again, we would just ask that you approve variance number 1 related to open space. I have not had the opportunity yet to speak to Director Adams about his interpretation on whether or not that would apply to our property. I am still of the belief, and as a representative of this applicant, that it does apply to our property. And so to eliminate any further issues, I'm asking that that open space variance be granted. We don't have any open space right now on the property, so it would be maintaining a status quo. It's not asking for something extra. Additionally, we would ask for those 2 waivers to be approved as well. That concludes my comments, but of course we'll be available later for any questions.
Sir, anyone else here wishing to speak in favor of this item? Anyone speaking in opposition? All right, seeing none, we'll move on down on the agenda.
Mayor, a point of clarity, the first 2 items that we cover in the public hearings will not be coming back up because they're ordinances and not property matters. We can take the opportunity to discuss them. Okay, my apologies.
No worries. All right, we have, under approval of minutes, we have 6 sets of minutes. Did anybody see any errors or? Back to those 2 items, A and B, for 2767 Claremont, 3082, 3084, 3110, and 3120 Briarcliff. Looks like, well, actually, all 3 of them are, aren't they? A, B, and C. Did council have any questions for the applicant on these items? Any questions from council? All right. All right, then we'll move on down to staff action items. First up is the 2026 General Administrative Annual Appointments.
Thank you, Mayor. This is your annual administrative appointments or several positions that you will need to reappoint or appoint for this year, including your judges, solicitor, your pension secretary, your city attorney, your auditors, and a few others. I believe staff is not recommending any changes to the staff recommended appointments, and so that's it.
Is there any questions from council on that item? All right, we'll move on down to the 2026 Ethics Committee Annual Appointments.
I believe you've
Ditto?
given those to Sharon for Tuesday's meeting.
And I would say ditto on the Public Art Commission as well, right?
Yes.
All right, any questions to staff on any of those annual appointments? All right, seeing none, we'll move on to the Sproul Center for the Arts lease agreement for the old City Hall.
Thank you, Mayor. We are in the process of finalizing negotiations on what that lease agreement looks like. I received just before this meeting a draft of that lease agreement from the city attorney, and it has been vetted by me, vetted by the folks at Spruill, and so we will be circulating that first thing tomorrow morning for your consideration. It'll be back on the Tuesday agenda.
Very good. Questions from council on that item? Not right now? All right. All right, that takes us down to the discussion on funding requests from the Downtown Development Authority to the city of Chamblee.
I believe the chair of the DDA is here to speak.
All right, Mr.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Congratulations on your reelection. So as to this item, the DDA is requesting a short-term loan of up to $300,000 to cover debt service and operating expenses. The funds will be repaid from the proceeds of the sale of the city center properties, which is anticipated to take place this summer. July or August is the expected schedule on that. The primary need for this loan is due to unanticipated costs associated with the city center projects. There's really three parts to that. When we made the decision to purchase the Pierce properties, we did not anticipate the extent of the transaction costs, including the requirement for using a revenue bond or a revenue note, and the legal costs associated with that process. The Pierce properties included multiple underground storage tanks. In order to speed the redevelopment process of those properties, the DDA decided to have those tanks removed. In that process, there was an additional tank discovered, so there were additional costs, again, unanticipated, that needed to be done at the same time of those remediation efforts. Again, there was greater legal costs and legal and oversight associated with that effort as well. And the legal costs for the creation of the sale agreements for both the overall property to the developer and the purchase of the Pierce properties by the DDA, both were significantly greater than we anticipated when we entered that process. Again, both required extensive purchase and sale agreements, and both of them required a number of amendments to cover items as they came up during the process. The current budget shortfalls are also due in part to an outstanding administrative payment that should be between $80,000 and $120,000. This is a situation where the current owner, the new owner, purchased the property recently. They were not thoroughly aware of the administrative requirements associated with the incentive on that property. And so our attorney has been working with them to work through all of the requirements of the administrative report and the determination of the annual administrative fee payment. We do anticipate that to be done within the next month or two, but it does take time. I understand they are working with the prior owner to get some additional information, but we do anticipate that to be worked through in the near future. I deeply regret the need to request this loan and the lack of notice that I provided to the city. The full scale of the budget deficit was not apparent until the closing on the purchase of the Pierce property, which occurred in mid-December. Of course, that was immediately before the holiday season, which led to its own challenges. I believe that the situation is due to a series of events, a unique series of events, and is highly unlikely to be repeated. I do not anticipate the DDA will be central to the development of another project of the complexity of the city center project in the near future. In many ways, the city center project has been an education in the details of the land development. To the extent that I may be involved in future land purchases with the DDA, I will use this experience as a guide to avoid the same pitfalls. So happy to answer any questions that you may have.
I'll start. I've spoken to several of the council members, so I know there's some specific questions, and I don't want to steal anybody's thunder. You've explained a lot of my questioning, but it doesn't negate that I'm concerned that we got to this point.
I understand completely.
You know, the city operates on a very tight budget. And I remember sitting in our budget meeting and cutting things that I didn't want to cut. And, so anytime we have unexpected expenses like this, it takes a toll on something else. And I understand it's a loan. And hopefully it'll be paid back. We've all got our fingers crossed everything goes well. But it's concerning that we allowed it to get to this point. And I'm not specifically blaming you or anybody else. I'm just saying we've got to do a better job of analyzing and communicating. And, as part of that, and this is not don't take this as a dressing down because that's not my intent. As part of that, the communication between the DDA and this body, I feel, has been lacking for a long, long time. And it's not under your chairmanship or anyone else. It's just since the body was created in 2013, I've said that the communication has been lacking. And, I think it is, who is it, George Bernard Shaw, that says that the most common thing in communication, most common inconsistencies in communication is the illusion that they occurred. And I think there's some illusion that we are communicating and having these discussions, and we're not. And we've just got to do a better job. I know we put in place a request at one point that somebody from the DDA was going to show up at every council meeting and let us know, where we are, what's going on, and certainly inform us of anything that of this magnitude that doesn't catch us off guard. We don't want to be caught off guard. Nobody likes being caught off guard. But I can't tell you when's the last time that we had an update from the DDA. And that needs to be back on our radar as a regular thing at our council meetings. I don't know that there's something going on every month that we need to hear about, but I would say every other month, somebody needs to be in here talking to us and letting us know what's going on. I agree with you, this project is of the magnitude that we'll probably never see again, but it's a little bit scary that it was a test for us. It's a little bit scary for all of us. And there's just looking back on this project and even looking at myself and reflecting, there's a lot of things we could have done better. All of us could have done better. But certainly communication is at the top of the list. I know there's some specific questions from council, and I know, I think one of them was, if this goes belly up, how do we get out of it? But we'll start and.
Well, thank you for stealing my question. And never wanted to, miss the opportunity to find the dark cloud of the silver lining. But what if this doesn't close? Or what if it's delayed 3 more months? At what point? And now there's an administrative payment standing out. Let's say that doesn't come in either. So then what? Where are we?
The long-term plan, if the property does not close, is that the DDA will refinance the loans on those properties. So that's the long-term answer. The short-term answer is, I believe with this loan, we will have enough to carry it through all of 2025. So I think there is a margin of error built into the amount of this loan that would bring us through 2025. I think if it does not close in 2025, that we will have some additional discussions as far as the prospects for the city center. If the DDA needs to sell other properties, I think that certainly can be entertained. But to be perfectly honest, I don't know the answer to that.
I served on the DDA when it was first legalized. And to Brian's point, it has always been a desire of the council to hear what's going on in the DDA, whether it be the council person that sits on the Downtown Development Authority or the person that does the minutes or whatever. And it has not come forward. It has not come to fruition, that desire. So this is the people's money. And we need to have a lot of transparency. We need our constituents to understand where their money is going. And we have no documents that show that. The Downtown Development Authority employs a very expensive lawyer, and it seems to me that there should be some documentation of all of this stuff that is public record, available for public record, including the potential, including, did we not know in advance that we were making a deal to take the tanks out of the ground at the Pierce property, and all of these things. And I can't sanction loaning this money without having that documentation and also some sort of answers to the questions that Councilman Veith asked. The Downtown Development Authority selling some of its property, well, we're already trying to sell property, and there's questions about whether or not it's going to sell in the first place. That's stuff that is up in the air. The Downtown Development Authority's ability to borrow money. Right now, the Downtown Development Authority can't borrow money except from the city, it sounds to me like. So there's too many questions here that need to have a plan written out that tells us, what if this happens, this is what's going to happen. What if this happens, this is going to happen. And I'm going to say this, and I'm the person who recommended Dan McRae as legal counsel. We need more from him. You're paying him an awful lot of money, and we need more from him. We need documents. We need to see this stuff. We need to not just have this, for us to feel like these negotiations are going on behind closed doors, and we don't know about it until we've gotten to this point. So those are the two things that I wanted to say.
When did we realize that there was a budget shortfall at the DDA?
Late November, early December. It was a joint discussion. I mean, there were concerns earlier than that, but we thought that if the administrative payments came in when we expected them to come in, that would have helped cover that. Honestly, many of the costs, the true nature was not known really until the days before we closed on the Pierce property, which was when we really got the full analysis of all of the legal fees and all of the other fees that would be associated with the closing. So that was at the point that we really had a picture of the true nature of the issue.
It didn't happen until late November.
The closing occurred on the 12th of December.
So the debt service every month is about what? It was about 30 grand, I think we talked about.
Yes, the monthly debt service on the two loans, which is interest only on the second loan for the Pierce property and is interest only monthly with a balloon payment at the end of the year. The interest payments that are due monthly amount to slightly less than $30,000 a month. By all indications, The purchaser is making steady progress on their plans, their submissions. I have not received any hint that they are not planning, to close this process. They've been investing an awful lot of money to get it done. They were chosen because of or one of the reasons that they were chosen was because of the depth of their financial support. I have no evidence that they do not plan to close according to the purchase and sale agreement, which has an outside date of July or August. But it's entirely possible. It is a real estate deal.
Upper hand, rather than just being led along by not necessarily the DDA, but the developers and these people that sold the Pierce property and this, that, and the other. I am concerned that we don't know all the details. So I would like to hear those details. I'm sure you do not have them tonight. It might take a little while for this council to come together and approve your request. It certainly is to our benefit to have this project. Oh my God, we have all wanted it so badly. But I can't in good conscience look like we and I don't have all the facts in spending, again, our citizens' money. So I want to have answers.
Yeah, as I always say, give me something to defend, right? Saying this is, we learned from this, that's hard for me to go to the public and say we're spending $300,000 for on-the-job training. We just had a very, very difficult budgeting process. We had to cut 10% across the top. So not to understand that we may have had to give this money, $300,000, that is money that we were struggling to come up with during the budgeting season. So this is a very bitter pill for us to swallow as a council, because as it was said earlier by Mayor Mock, we're very, very tight on our budget this year. And with a lot of other items that are moving along that are of concern for the city from a financial standpoint. Inflation's up, everything's getting more expensive. I think, as the mayor said, communication. This is an opportunity to course correct, reevaluate how we got here, improve the communication, learn from this. But it is difficult to sit here and say that you all need to alone when you're an independent agency that should be able to handle your own house.
Kristen, is there a date that they would need this by? How time sensitive are we talking here?
My understanding is it's pretty soon that you would need that.
I think it is pretty soon, at least some of it.
So I have the city attorney is drafting what would be an IGA. Brian and I exchanged emails earlier this week and with the kind of trying to fill in the blanks on potential details that we would need to consider. And we're going to propose a 5% interest rate on the loan with installment payment of $50,000 a month until we hit that $300,000 cap.
Okay. Well, anything else from council?
I think there's another thing I would like to mention. We need our staff to be fully involved in the goings-on of the Downtown Development Authority. We need, our need for myself, and I think we all need our staff, we need a representative there. We need the representative that can come back to us and tell us the particulars of what is going on, that can also explain to the Downtown Development Authority what we can do and what we can't do. This is a city project. The DDA is certainly within the jurisdiction of what they are considered to be, your territory, if you will. But I just feel like we need better staff involvement, and the staff needs to be almost over everybody's head on the DDA in determining what we can and can't do, whether or not we can say yes to proposals well before they are agreed upon by the DDA and things like that. So I just want to put that on the table as well.
At minimum, it needs to be a partnership, and, I get it, there's a fine line there between the DDA and the city council, and that's why the DDA was created. You guys can do things that this council cannot do. And, so we need to be on the same page and working together, but again, it goes back to 12 years of history. It feels like our economic development director, no matter who that person has been cut out of the process. And recognizing, I serve on a lot of boards in my life as a volunteer, and you can only do so much as a volunteer. And so with a paid staff member, you need to be utilizing that resource. It is a resource for you. And so our economic development director needs to not just have a seat at the table, but needs to have some say-so, a little bit of say-so in what's going on at the table. And I just, I can't clarify that enough. I mean, again, I've watched it for 12 years, and it's always been a concern. So, again, going forward, more communication, come to the meetings, tell us what's going on, and certainly involve the economic development director, utilize her and her expertise, and recognize that no one person can do this on their own. This has got to be all of us working together. So.
And the paper trail. So my question is, will you be able to put something together in terms of, I don't know, is it important enough to do it right now or not? Timeline? I know you can't give us guarantees, I know that, but some sort of document that shows that you have considered all of these things, and this is what you would do if, when, and then, and things like that. I think you understand what I'm asking.
I understand what you're asking. Yes, ma'am. Of course.
Bolt Park CMAR project contract award.
Should we take a moment for Jonathan?
No, he's illegal.
So just to clarify, I don't believe Councilman Mesa can take any action, but I believe he can sit in his
Yeah,
chair
we'll let you
until
sit
he's
in your
sworn
chair, but you can't say a word. This is the best night of my life.
I was a witness to an incident, so I was detained, so that was, okay.
Yeah,
So
all right.
it was somewhat
Turn your mic
professional.
off. All right, you're done.
Kristen, is there anything
All
in the
right.
Constitution that says we have to swear him in at a certain time?
I'll have to investigate that.
All right, Fishbolt Park.
Fishbowl Park, yes, this is a notice of award to Reeves Young for the construction of Fishbowl Park. This has been a little bit of a challenge over the last several months to try to find the right contractor for this project. We had to put it out to bid, and then we ended up having to rebid it. And so that resulted in a bid from Fishbowl Park for a pre-construction fee of $20,000 and a construction manager at-risk construction phase service fee of 9%.
All right, any questions from my duly sworn council members? No questions?
This is the construction contract, correcto?
Yes, ma'am.
That's right. Get her done. All right, we'll move on down, 4900 Peachtree Road. Matt?
Evening again, Mayor and Council. So you'll remember this case from the December 16th meeting. This was deferred to give the applicant time to explore alternate design solutions that can improve both vehicular circulation and pedestrian movement within the site. So rather than review the items presented at the last meeting, I'll focus on what has changed and how that has impacted staff's assessment. At the December hearing, the applicant requested approval to eliminate the parking island, which was tied to a conditioned site plan. Staff had concerns that removing the island without an alternative would worsen internal circulation and pedestrian safety. This was echoed by City Council at the last hearing. This is particularly due to the drive-through configuration of the existing service bay layout. The applicant submitted a revised site plan on December 15th, which staff has reviewed. The plan now includes a landscaped island, as you can see in the center of this site plan, directional areas and pedestrian striping that clearly connect vehicle circulation areas to the building's front entrance. Based on this updated plan, staff finds that the revised landscape island and associated striping adequately address circulation and pedestrian issues that were previously unresolved. With those revisions in place, staff recommends approval of the rezoning and concurrent variance and waiver requests with the following condition, that the development be constructed in substantial conformity with the revised site plan dated December 15th, 2025. As a follow-up note, staff did learn this afternoon that, and we thank Councilmember Vythe for his sage wisdom in this, that the 3 parking spaces that were previously proposed for the center of the site were for compact parking spaces. So the council may consider an additional condition requiring that 3 compact parking spaces be added from one of the parking areas on the site.
Any questions from council on this item? All right, that'll take us back down to 3535 Ashton Woods, which was presented earlier. Was there any questions or comments from council on that item? We don't take action on that tonight, right? Tuesday? Okay, very good. All right, that'll take us down to mayor and council items. First up, under myself, I had a request for the use of the community room in conjunction with Discover DeKalb. I sent out some information to everyone on that. If you will take some time over the next few days to read that, and we'll communicate. Let me know if you have any questions, and we'll take that up on Tuesday. And then Councilmember First has a shopping cart ordinance discussion.
Yes, I brought this up at the summer retreat, and I just wanted to rehash it with City Council. And I'm using this in the scope of a beautification project. If you go through our downtown at any given time, there's shopping carts strewn all throughout downtown, among other parts of the city. And there's an easy way to fix that for the most part. I know we can't control outside of our city, and shopping carts will come into the city from outside our borders. But the idea here would be for staff only to go and do some research on what is possible for shopping carts. We have some good neighbors. Publix at Chambly Plaza, they already have locks on their shopping carts. I've never seen a Publix shopping cart in our downtown. There's some other businesses that are more offensive when it comes to this. And I'm just asking for what's ours possible. I'm not asking to say this is exactly how I want it, this is what we need, this is how we should enforce. It's just, have other cities done this previously? Was this successful? And is something that we can do in the scope of the law of Georgia?
Okay. comments from council?
Thank you.
Yeah, I'll only say to save Kristen some time, a little bit of time, there's there is a state law that covers most of this as far as, it is a misdemeanor to take a shopping cart off of the owner's property under state law. I only know that because I did a little bit of research last year because I was looking at something similar to Jimmy, and I reached out to a few cities and found that they hadn't had much success with their own ordinances as far as enforcement. And a little, again, I shared with Jimmy a little bit of the pushback that comes from the Grocers Association, of course, as well. But there's at least 3 cities that I can think of off the top of my head. I know Warner Robins, Stonecrest, and South Fulton all have tried to put in similar ordinances, and they've just found some difficulties with enforcement and how to make it all work. So might want to reach out to them, and it might make it a lot easier going forward. But I certainly support it because I see them, especially in our downtown, and it is a blight, and we need to figure out if there is a way to help with that. We certainly need to be doing that. So thank you for bringing that forward. All right, that will take us down to public comments. The mayor is the presiding officer. All remarks shall be addressed to the city council as a body, not to individual members. Anyone wishing to speak shall come to the microphone, give your name and address to the city clerk, limit remarks to 3 minutes unless further time is granted by council. Not speak a second time until everyone wishing to speak has spoken once and no one can speak more than twice. Please do not speak unless you have the microphone and have been recognized. And with that, I will open it up. If anyone here wishes to address council this evening, come on up to the microphone. Anybody? Somebody's got to have something to say. Caroline, I know you're not sitting back there and ain't got something to say. Come on up.
So,
No,
yeah,
just
by
tell
the
us,
way, I'm
tell
the
us your,
timekeeper, so you can get 3 minutes.
tell us your
You
name
know,
and
it could be
address.
jarring, so I just want to give you a heads
Oh,
up.
no problem.
Yeah.
I'll be quick. I'll be quick. Well, I'm not a citizen of Chamblee, but
That's
I do.
okay, just tell us your name and address.
Raymond Richardson, 13 Melanie Court, Southwest College Park, GA, 30349.
Welcome.
Well, I have a storage here, and I do business here, and I'm kind of having some problems with the police. So sometimes I'm there a little bit later. So let me tell you what I do. I am a personal trainer, and then I have a moving company, okay? And sometimes with the moving company, you can never estimate how long we're going to be there. So I came there a little bit after hours or whatever, so it's about 10:30. And the police said you was there a little bit too long, so he said the next time we're there, he was going to blame you for burglary. Now, this is all on his body cam, and so, I'm having problems actually getting the open request records from him, so, because it's on his body cam. So I asked them for actual records, and they wouldn't give it to me. Well, not give it to me, but they wouldn't put it on USB. So I'm just trying to really take the proper actions, let anybody know what's going on, because I don't want to keep having this problem. Because I do personal training at Ativa, I think that's what it's called, you know what that is? And I have a subcontract with an actual company to go over there. So I don't want to keep having problems actually, coming in Chamblee and the police following me, and then I'm in the actual storage, and like I said, I do business, so sometimes I have to move stuff over there because I have storages in different places, okay, depending on where we move people. So I might have beds over there, and sometimes, like I said, it's rather lengthy if you understand moving. And so I came out at 10:30. This has been about 2 or 3 times. So I kind of been recording things, kind of gathering my evidence. I was going to hire a skip trace or whatever. When he said he was going to blame me for burglary, that was kind of shocking because I have an MBA, so I have no reason to really burglarize anybody. I was a grad assistant. I'm not from here. I'm from Illinois, okay? So I don't know how things actually work here. And I know actually in Chamblee storage, there's 24-hour remote viewing, okay? So there's kind of like no way you can not see, what's going on. So that was my concern because I do business here, and I just want to, just for my safety, and again, I'm just getting steps and taking evidence for if I do anything a little further than that. So that's all I have to say.
The chief is not here this evening. Kristen, who can he speak with after the meeting?
We don't.
I'll give you my card at the end of the meeting, and I'll make sure that somebody follows up with you at the police department.
Okay, thank you. All right, anyone else here wishing to address council? I knew you had something. I knew you did. I knew you did.
Caroline Chestnut Leslie, 1459 Council Bluff Drive. I live 1.5 miles away from the new development at Claremont and Briarcliff. Brookhaven took over the other side of 85 so that they could get a giant tax base, and our side of 85 is stuck with all the traffic. So I'm happy for this development to come and improve this property, but I'm very concerned about the traffic situation. And I'm glad to see that this property connects to the 85 access road, and I'm hoping that they will be able to peel off some of their property with the DOT's permission and get some of that traffic off the Claremont and 85 interchange. So that's what I'm going to be looking for as this project goes on.
Thank you. Anyone else here wishing to address council this evening? Anybody? All right, do we have executive session? Very good. All right, thank you. We're out of here.
Megan? So what are we going to do about swearing you in? Or swearing at you?
The look on your face, I thought I was